Okay, the housing crisis is always a hot topic inside Portland City Hall. All kinds of different plans from all kinds of government entities, the city, the county, metro, the state, you get the idea. Here's a visual representation to help you better understand. And perhaps this helps you see why we are so far behind housing production goals. This month, Portland City Council approved a new strategy meant to streamline all of those plans. It's called the Unified Housing Strategy. Now, part of the plan is a focus less on a crisis response and more on long-term solutions like affordable housing. The resolution was created by Councilors Jamie Dunphy and Councelor Avalos of District 1, that's East Portland. They say consolidating those plans into one will allow the city to be more effective. Councelor Avalos previously joined us on the show live, and here's part of what she had to say about her idea.
The city lacks a unified vision. We have these scattered efforts, siloed plans, but no real common theory of change. And so what I'm introducing with the Unified Housing Strategy is clarity. What is Portland's role? What is not our role? How do we move from crisis to housing stability? And this should help us lead where we should be leading, which is housing production.
On paper, here is what this strategy is meant to do. Align existing plans from homelessness to permitting to climate, consolidate work across departments, set clear and measurable goals, reflect equity, community input, and urgency, and coordinate housing supply with homelessness needs. Some of those seem a little vague, but it won't be up to council to iron out those wrinkles, at least at first. The resolution directs City Administrator Michael Jordan to come up with the details of the streamlined strategy and deliver that report to council by December 1st. Now, on Wednesday, Portland City Council voted to approve this plan in an 11-1 vote. Councilor Dan Ryan, who represents District 2 in North and Northeast Portland, was the only one to vote against it. And he joins me live in studio now. Councilor Ryan, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you, Blair. It's good to see you.
Okay, so let's back up. In May, you voted to move this unified housing strategy forward to the full council with the recommendation to approve it. Yet this week you voted against it. So what changed?
Yeah, I've been a big proponent for home ownership to be a part of that unified plan. I think that it's really important that we always have that North Star. And we had conversations at the committee level, and we had testimony to that point by Habitat for Humanity, and I was expecting to see that in the final proposal, and it wasn't there. So I decided to be a dissent vote, so I could keep that on the table.
So do you agree with the bones of this unified housing strategy, though? I mean, are there too many plans with too many partners?
Yeah, I think it was wise to knit them together. I just wanted to make sure that we were really crisp and clear that it should always go from those that are on the streets all the way to those that are in home ownership. It's a continuum that needs to go all the way to that end point.
And let's talk about home ownership. How does that play into this plan, do you think?
I don't think we should give up on it. I think that it's really one of the things when I was doing work in equity work last decade, it was really important to see that if you really wanted to build generational wealth, having home ownership and having that mortgage, having that equity was a big part of building that wealth for your own family.
So let's talk about permitting, part of the Unified Housing Strategy. This resolution says Portland has seen its lowest multifamily construction levels since 2011, with only 896 housing unit permits issued last year. We've reported many times on developers who say getting permits to build in Portland is not only difficult, but expensive. I mean, what needs to change in your eyes, and do you think the Unified Housing Strategy will help permitting?
What helped the most is Mayor Wilson brought this to council and we all passed it unanimously, which is to get rid of the system development fees, and that went over very well. We're already seeing some breaking of ground. What's really preventing that right now is there's some market conditions, but it's really Portland is not the investment that it used to be from those that invest from nationally. So they just haven't been knocking on our door like they used to. And so we have to continue to work on our conditions on the ground so that this investment in Portland will once again be an uptick. It's a supply issue. We are seeing rents go down in some cities that are comparable, like Austin, because they have a higher supply. So we have a low inventory, and we need to get that up.
I mean, a city analysis estimates that Portland must build about 6,000 units per year for the next 20 years to meet current needs. Do you think that's achievable?
I think you have to hope that it will be achievable, but it's connected to other priorities that the city's focusing on to see that. Again, we need to be a place where investors want to build.
Okay, let's talk about the mayor's plan to end unsheltered homelessness. He says he's going to do that by December. He gave an update to a council committee that you're a part of on how that's going this week. And we want to pull up some of what he said to remind viewers. Okay, the first goal he talked about was ending tent distribution, which he says is, quote, mostly complete. He also wants to open 1,500 new emergency overnight shelter beds by December 1st. By the end of this summer, the mayor says the city will have opened 630 of those beds at 6 different locations, plus 2 day centers. And he wants to reunite at least 14 homeless people with loved ones each week and remove nearly 100 problem RVs a month. But the big focus, at least right now, is on those shelter beds. So, Councilor Ryan, do you agree with his plan? And is the city on track to end unsheltered homelessness by December, or is that an unrealistic promise?
It's something that we must stay focused on. Portlanders overwhelmingly supported Mayor Wilson's plan to get these shelters up and running, and they wanted it to be urgent. And I also know that the county is a big part of this equation because they're on for 1,000. So I am fully supportive of doing something, and it's so important that we support the mayor to get something done. My concern about what some of the concerns brought up about exits, where do people go? Of course I have those. In fact, one stat that's really challenging to accept is that when the county puts 2 people into housing, 1 person is going back out on the streets. That's something we have to really look at. Why are we having that ratio with people going into housing? The mayor's unification plan is really exciting. It's something that I was shocked at the fact that we hadn't been doing this earlier, but the fact that we have 26% of those who are in Portland, newly homeless in Portland, came to Portland homeless. So they arrived in Portland homeless, 26%. Right after they get here is a time to really look at how to unify them with their families in other parts of the country. I love that we have a mayor that's so compassionate that they're focusing into that very relatable issue.
But this December 1st deadline, do you really think that that's achievable?
I think it will help if the city council supports the mayor and that we all act as one city and being a part of that one priority. Portlanders, he's the only person that was elected citywide, and there was a mandate to try to get this moving and to be successful. So I can support anyone that's willing to do something. You might remember in 21-22, I was in charge to build safest villages, and I know what it's like to do something bold and audacious. And so of course I'm going to have the back of somebody that's an elected official that's doing something that's very challenging.
And you know firsthand what it's like to bring tiny home villages, like you mentioned, into neighborhoods. So how do you handle neighbors who just don't want these overnight shelters in their neighborhood?
You have to be really crisp and clear about the neighborhood agreements. I know when we were building the villages, we learned a lot about that during the process. So we had buffer zones. We made sure that the providers were complicit with keeping the area very clean. In fact, we have had something happen in North Portland where there was a lot of opposition to the Safest Village opening in North Portland. And now that we're closing that for a Habitat for Humanity project, it was always the plan, there's actually people that are concerned, will the cleanliness continue to be what it is today? And will the Peninsula Crossing Trail continue to be clean for my kiddos to use that trail? So I'm proud of the fact that you can actually make the neighborhood better if in fact you unify and have services coordinated to not only take care of those inside the shelters, but also the area surrounding it.
So something else that caught my attention this week was learning that the mayor basically ended enforcement of the city's camping ban back in February. Do you think that was the right move?
He explained the move in a way that was easy to digest. He explained that he wanted to get the shelters up and running. He's a humanitarian, and he wanted to make sure that those that were being asked to not block a sidewalk, that were asked to be removed, would have a place to go. So we're improving in the fact that we can offer more places for people to go. The mayor, I think, wanted to have it at a certain number before he could put that back into the books.
Okay, before we let you go tonight, we wanted to ask you about this. A block of 6 of your fellow city councilors who have a group chat where they call themselves Peacock, short for Progressive Caucus, and how they coordinate their votes in real time and use their 6-member influence to sort of affect policy direction at City Hall. This was reported by Willamette Week. A quote from you is included in one of the articles where you said, "Lately, I've been asking the Peacock caucus, tell me, what is your North Star? Is Portland the testing site to eliminate capitalism for socialism?" Why do you feel that way, and what do you make of this Peacock group.
Was that in the article?
It was, yes.
Well, maybe that's me explaining to you that I do my best not to read certain articles nor the comment section.
Okay.
Or the
Did you say that?
Oh yeah, I definitely said that. So I wasn't surprised, and I'm, moving on. But the quote that you just attributed to me, which is accurate, is a fair question. I think that I just want to pause for a moment. We're nonpartisan elected officials. I have always said that I ran to be a public servant and to serve anyone, no matter where they affiliate, no matter what their ideology is. Because when I talk to Portlanders, they're all concerned about the same things. Today we had a meeting about how to move forward with our committees. I said, can we take a pause and actually get on the same page about what our priorities are? And I'll just start with a few. Homelessness, obviously in housing. It's livability issues, it's public safety. It's all of those working much better than they are now so that we can start to see real economic development. So I think that no matter what your ideology is, I think Portlanders want us to focus on those priorities. And I think it's important for us to get rid of the national politics, even the Salem politics, and be public servants to the city of Portland. Because I'll tell you right now, in service to my city, I've noticed so many things. I remember the woman that I met 3 years ago in Old Town. She's elderly, and her doctor wants her to go on a walk every day in the neighborhood, like for about 30 minutes, and she doesn't feel safe to do that. And that hasn't changed. I've talked to parents who just want to go to the park with their kids, and when they get there, because it's inevitable, your child will need to use the restroom, they want it to be clean, and they want it to be open. When someone has to call 911, no one wants to. They want someone to pick up, and they want the service, they want the service to provide as soon as possible.
But
First responders need to show up as soon as possible. That's what they want us to focus on.
But I'm sure this council feels different, right? You were on the previous council. How does this compare, if at all, to how commissioners used to communicate in the city's old form of government? I mean, were they texting each other during meetings to coordinate votes and strategize?
It was different because there was the mayor and then 4 of us, so we were so in our faces. We were always in the same meetings all the time, and so I think the communication was different because of that. Now that you have 12, it's obviously a number that might suggest caucusing. I wish that wasn't happening. I think that the caucus that you get from the party systems, both in the state and the federal structure, don't merit themselves here locally. Some of the national issues and even the state issues don't land when this is about the basics. This is about infrastructure, public safety, economic development. Our city needs us to focus at this time.
Okay, Councilor Dan Ryan, thanks for coming on the show.
You're so welcome.
All right, now it's your turn to weigh in. What is going through your mind after hearing from Councilor Dan Ryan? Let us know. Email us, thestory@kgw.com, or call and leave us a voicemail, 503-226-5090.